What I have to say has to do with in your speech, you made a very, very profound statement that I would like to connect it to something. Because if the father is absent, then especially the boys have no role models. Now, like the person that you referred to who was in jail, in the position to play the role of fathers. And then they mentor these kids, so they provide a model, or the model for fathers for them to have a look at. But when you come to North America, where broken home is not only the experience of one segment of the Africans, but almost the Africans in the diaspora, the Africans also have the same problem. Here, it becomes very, very challenging if the father leaves or the father abandons the family. Who is to step in the role of the father and provide the fatherly care for the kids or for the children? Now, I have seen, at least I've been in North America for a long time now, and I've seen some churches stepping up. You know, they have some men in the church who take up the position and trying to help families and so on. But the model has not been all that very, very good, very effective in doing that. Now I'm looking at not only a father who has abandoned the family, but also a father who has passed away. And the kids are there, and then they have nobody to look up to as a father. So this is what I'm thinking. What can we do to help those families where there is no father? Whether the father has abandoned the family or the father has passed away. I'm kind of looking at that. What can we do as a community?
You know, this subject for me is good, and I tell you why I say it is good. When I lost my dad passed away when I was 6.5 years old.
Yeah.
But the beauty about it, for me, my dad was a politician. So everybody in the neighborhood knew my dad, and everybody knew me. So when my dad passed away, everywhere I walked in my neighborhood, there was a father. There was a grandfather. There was a stepdad. There was a father figure. Every step of the way. Every time I go on the road, somebody would say, remember, your daddy never do this and your daddy never do that. So I was always on a chalk line when my dad passed away. So these members in the neighborhood grew me up as a father. So I never missed my dad in that sense, not having a father present. Because those men, even women, were there for me when I was growing up. But like you asked the question, what do you do when the father is passed away and nobody is stepping up? In Canada, if you notice, there are some places you see they have a sign, say Big Brother. Now those signs mean that you can volunteer to be a big brother, a dad, or a stepdad, or a father figure. That's what that big brother means. I was saying to these guys the other day, or earlier on I was saying to Yvonne, here is a 15-year-old guy at the convenience store, and a 60-year-old or a 40-year-old man come to the convenience store, and that little boy will go up to him and say, can you buy me a cigar? And he'll go in the store and buy it for him. Now, these are some of the things you talk about. Instead of buying that cigar, why not sit that kid down and talk to the kid? But what you're going to say is not my kid. And that's the problem we have. We are all our brother's keepers, and we are all fathers. In churches, when a child is baptized in a church, they walk that child in the whole congregation. That child now becomes a child of the church. So if there's 1 million members in the church, that child has 1 million father and mother. But when that christening is done, that situation is done. Nobody remembers that child anymore. You talk about the mother is not stepping up as much as she should. Now the problem with mothers is that we have to remember, they carry the child for 9 months. They bear the pain. They're more sympathetic than the fathers. Now they are left alone to grow those 3, 4 children on their own without a father figure, or a stepdad, or a stepfather, or anything. So she's on her own. What happened to her is that she's now have to focus on what she's going to give them to eat, how she's going to find the money for the school fee, how she's going to find the money for the books, and she's alone. So sometimes she will slip up, yes, but we have to give and take because she's on her own. As men, we need to focus more on being a part of the younger boy's life, whether they are ours or not. We come to church, they're young boys and young girls. We need to set programs in the church where we have sit and talk with the kids. Find out how the kids are doing. Don't just come to church and sit, go through the sermon and then go home. To solve the problem, to me, this is one way we can do it. Like you said, you notice the church is stepping up. Now we need to introduce programs where we get the kids to stay back for half an hour, 45 minutes, and we sit and chat with them. Simple chatting. How you doing? How is things? How is school? Find out how they're doing. Because you might be surprised. You might just say to one kid, how you doing? And you start to hear a whole story. But if we don't communicate with them, we will never know. And those kids are going to leave the church, go out on the street, meet the guy in the corner, and that's where they have the conversation. Because the older folks is not talking to them. And we need to communicate with them some more. It's not only black kids or black boys that is going to jail at a tender age. It's all ages. And I don't think for what we plan to do, it should separate the races. Because I'm sure in the church you have more than one races in the church. How can we prevent it is the problem. Visiting the prison is okay. But what I'm saying is that we should try to avoid going to the prison to visit the kids in prison. And this is why we need to instill in them now before they get to the stage where they end up in prison. We have to have programs, like I said, especially with the church. The church is a very influential body in any community. Parents need to spend more time with the children. And I say that because, like my brother said earlier on, because we're living in a fast-paced country where we don't have time. We don't have time to scratch our head sometimes because we have 2, 3 jobs. But the child comes from school and says, Dad, look at this. You don't have time. How you expect that child to get the answer when you don't have the time? That child is going to go somewhere and get the answer. And maybe it's the wrong place. Inviting the police, it's okay. But I think we should build our home base first. Do our job first, see where it takes us. Instead of thinking about visiting the kids in the prison, why not bring the kids in here? Have a discussion. Have a panel discussion. Why not invite the parents one-on-one and find out how is things at home? Invite the ladies by themselves if you want. Invite the men by themselves if you want. Find out what is going on. Because like I said earlier on, we might be surprised as to what is going on in some homes. But if we don't have a communication, we're not going to know. The power of a father's presence is important. So if we're going to focus on the power of the presence of the father, we need to bring the fathers in. We need to bring the dads in. We need to bring the mothers in, and we need to have a discussion. Just like this program you have set up here now, which is a beginning, At least it's a start. Maybe the next one you have is a sip and talk with the parents. Find out how the children are doing. Or a sip and talk with the kids. Find out how the kids are doing. Just like you listen to the police sometimes, they go into community, build community center to have outreach for the boys or for the kids in the neighborhood. Now, you have something working on, which is good. Let us bring the kids in and find out what is going on with the kids.
You said all that I wanted to say, but I have to say that you have put forward two major solutions to the problem. One is the church making a program that will help the kids, in the homes, whatever they are going through. And you also mentioned the need for the parents or dad or fathers to have some kind of a dialogue. And then getting the fathers or the dads to be talking about what is going on in the home. Basically, that is supposed to help the problem. Or that is supposed to provide information, and then from there we'll be able to know how or what to do to help them in their homes. A community organization like S.Y.A can also help, right? They could also put together a program that will help kids, especially we know that kids from the age of say 9 up to 17, 18, this is where they have a lot of problems. And most of the problems that they have to do with schooling and how they fit in the school. Now you know very well that in the schools they have what they call counselors who the students go and see from time to time. And I always say this, that teaching somebody's kids is not the same as teaching your own kids. Now, I remember very well a long time ago when I have two girls, and one of them came up to me and said, "Daddy, why is it that when they are doing mathematics, they always use X and Y's? Why?" I asked my teacher, and my teacher could not provide any answer that made sense to me. Why? Then I have to take her through and then let her understand, because I know that it's something that a lot of teachers, even mathematics teachers in the high school or in the junior secondary school, don't know themselves. So some of the questions will come in, and some kids, when they don't have, like you said, when they don't have the suitable answers, they will just go to the mall and sit down there and say, "Okay, forget about it, I'm not interested in school." And that is why we have a lot of our kids falling or dropping out of school, or they become what you call emotionally absent from school. They go to school, but their minds and their souls are not in the school. Their souls and minds are somewhere else. So I feel strongly that a community organization will have a role to play in this, just as the church will have a role to play if we really want to provide some sort of presence or provide a father for every home if there's no father. Yeah, so I think that will really do. It all depends on what kind of programs are put together and how the programs address the needs of the students or the kids in our homes. So that's a little that I have to say about this.